Welcome to Transcendence Talks podcast with your host, licensed professional counselor, Kristy Crabtree. Join us as we build the bridge between psychology and spirituality and discuss psychology for the soul.
Hey everybody, welcome to Transcendence Talks. I'm your host, Kristy Crabtree, and this is our first ever episode of Transcendence Talks podcast. So I am here to inspire you, to motivate and facilitate change, just like I do with my clients. And I am so passionate that psychotherapy needs to be about so much more than talk therapy. I'm here to help you build a bridge between psychotherapy and spirituality. Just like with my clients, this podcast is going to be bringing you all different techniques, modalities, ancillary services to reach so much deeper than just through talk, right? We can't access everything we need to access to fully heal through talk alone. So throughout this podcast, I'm going to be bringing you interviews with healers that have inspired me along the way. That looks something like naturopathic doctors, massage therapists, psychics, Reiki practitioners, and other practitioners who really complement what the field of psychology is doing. Because we do not just break emotionally, right? When things happen in our lives, it impacts us physically in our bodies, it impacts us spiritually, and then of course emotionally. So I have been a therapist since 2009, and currently I'm here in Phoenix, Arizona. I have a private practice that I've turned into a group practice. So part of this podcast will also be about my journey in healing and how that's led me to build this business. I currently have, again, a group practice that employs more than 40 counselors and a team of the most amazing admin staff that anybody could ever ask for, because my mission is to help therapists really utilize the tools and the resources that they have available to them in the community to help clients, again, fully access the most benefit that they can get out of healing by utilizing other practitioners, by understanding what it means to have holistic care. My personal journey was that as well. And we will definitely be talking and integrating and weaving that in throughout this podcast. But I was really inspired to start this podcast because after getting Interlight to the place where it is, we have, I now own a multi-million-dollar counseling practice. It feels like the reach still isn't enough. And so I'm here really to talk about my healing journey and the people, again, who have inspired me along the way. So the release schedule for this podcast, my hope is weekly or bi-weekly. There's going to be solo episodes where we just talk about certain topics, like the etiology of certain mental health diagnoses that are so rooted in biology, things that we could do to heal them without medication. And again, just utilizing resources to access our own inner healer. And that's something we're going to talk a lot about too, is the healing, is never outside of the individual. It's never outside of the client. It's always something that's within us. And we're going to talk about how to access our own inner healer. Please feel free to check out our Transcendence Talks Instagram page. That's where we're going to be engaging with you, asking a lot of questions, finding out about what are the topics that you want to learn and know more about in psychotherapy or spirituality. So in this podcast, we're going to be talking about some of the more non-traditional routes to take in psychotherapy. So I want to talk a little bit about my training. I, again, graduated in 2009, and I realized really quickly that talk therapy just didn't feel like it was enough. People could talk about their trauma, they can get emotional, but that didn't feel like a mechanism for healing. And of course, I was trained like a lot of other counselors in cognitive behavioral therapy, and that helped to a degree. But there were so many times when I was sitting across from a client and they would say something to me like, in my head, I know that that's true. I know that I'm worthy. I know that I'm lovable, but why don't I feel that? Why don't I feel that? you know? And so I resonated with that so deeply. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so true. And what do I do about it? And so that is really what prompted me to continue to find trainings that would help me take my clients deeper and deeper into their journey of healing. I really quickly realized, oh my gosh, I could see in their body, as they're sitting across from me, that the trauma is literally stored in the tissues in their body. You could see them change across the chair, going from looking like a full competent adult, and as I talk about their trauma, literally shrinking and looking young and vulnerable. And how do we heal that? So that brought me on a personal journey of not only my own healing that happened in parallel with learning how to heal others, but seeking out trainings. So I decided I was going to get trained in hypnotherapy, and that was amazing. So that brought me down this rabbit hole of taking people into past lives, in utero memories, pre-birth memories, things that I couldn't have even imagined were possible. But oh my gosh, I have so many good stories to tell about that, and so many things that I've learned along the way about imprints that experience make on a soul. I quickly realized that hypnotherapy is not for everybody when we're dealing with mental health. And so I got trained in EMDR therapy back in 2013, and I've been using that, which is such a phenomenal targeted tool for helping people deal with the big T traumas, with the high impact trauma. And again, very quickly, I realized that EMDR and hypnotherapy were not great tools for attachment-based chronic trauma. And something else needed to happen. I needed more training from an attachment-based lens. And so that's really when I got into working with ego state work, learning internal family systems therapy. And that is where I've kind of landed. That's the lens that I tend to see the whole world through. So throughout this podcast, we will likely do a series, but we're going to be talking a lot about parts of the psyche, of the ego, and internal family systems, and probably doing an entire series of what that even is. So I will be sharing with you, and I want the listener to know that healing is possible, that there are so many ways to access your own inner healer. The therapist is not the healer. The medicine is not the healer. The shaman is not the healer. You are the healer. Most recently in my private practice, I have been doing a ketamine group. And so we're using ketamine, which is a psychedelic. It's an atypical psychedelic. It's more of a dissociant anesthetic, but we are using ketamine to help people's protective barriers and walls come down, to prepare them for what that's going to be like, and help them access just deep parts of themselves in a relaxed, blissful state. And I am facilitating that with an evidential medium, with Michelle Claire. And so we're going to be talking a lot about our experiences in psychedelic healing and facilitation, our own experiences of the medicine. Because again, I truly believe that as a healer, I need to subject myself to all these modalities that I use with my clients to fully understand them. So there's not a modality that I've been trained in that I have not sought out a therapist to take me through myself. So every modality that I use, I have my own experience, testimony, that of my own healing that I've done, because I would never ask my clients to go somewhere that I'm not willing to go. So I'm so excited to be sharing this information with you. Please be on the lookout for more episodes, and we will talk to you soon.